So when we face difficulties, it's nothing unusual, nothing to really be surprised at. Because as long as we're under the influence of afflictions and karma, what else can we expect? So the real enemy is not the difficult situations or the people involved in them. The real enemy is our self-centered thought and the afflictions that motivate us to do actions that ripen in our difficult situations and in our unhappiness. So let's use those kind of situations to, the difficulties to really deepen our determination to overcome the afflictions. Okay, not to give in to them, not to placate them, but to really banish them from our minds and to help others do the same. So with that kind of thought, let's have the determination to become fully awakened Buddhas so we can fulfill that. So I have a little saying that I find very helpful, which is, sentient beings do what sentient beings do. Okay? So sentient beings, especially ordinary beings, are under the influence of afflictions and karma. So they don't think clearly. Yeah. Now, we all think that we think clearly and that other people don't. Yeah. But if we're honest, we're not always so clear thinking ourselves, are we? We've made many wrong, bad decisions in our lives, gotten ourselves into multiple jams. I hope I'm not just talking about myself here. Yeah, do you fit that description too? Okay. Yeah, so, we can see so easily that, we want happiness, we don't want suffering, we think we're on top of things, we think we're making good decisions, we go in certain directions, and then we get, a little ways along, and then we go, oh my God, what did I do? Yeah. What is going on here? What in the world was I thinking? Yeah, have you had that situation? Yeah, and it's like you can't understand really what in the world were we thinking? Because it's like so obvious when our wisdom turns on how stupid we were. And when we're in the middle of the stupidity, how we're completely sure that what we're doing makes sense and is a good choice. If that isn't the depth of ignorance, yeah? Okay, so when we encounter other people who are not thinking clearly, when they are doing what sentient beings do, which is not think clearly and make unwise decisions, rather than get exasperated with them, to just say, they're being sentient beings. What else am I expecting from them? Yeah. And then we realize, what else were we expecting? Well, we were expecting them to do everything we want them to do. We were expecting them never to cause us problems, to always be agreeable. yeah, to always make sense, and always make sense means they always agree with us, because we always make sense, yeah. So when we ask ourselves, what else was I expecting from sentient beings, we see that we have a whole bunch of expectations there that we weren't even aware of ourselves until they weren't met. And even then, we didn't see them as our expectations. We saw them as other people's betrayal of, of our trust. But when we're dealing with sentient beings, we're dealing with people who are out to lunch, really. Yeah, because we're out to lunch sometimes too. So, aren't we? Yeah. So we're dealing with people who are out to lunch. So why are we expecting them to make sense and make good decisions? Sentient beings do what sentient beings do. Yeah. So we have to expect problems and difficulties and so on, and maintain compassion for these sentient beings, because they have no idea that they're under the influence of afflictions. Because just as when we're overwhelmed by our afflictions, we think we're making sense and being straightforward and even kind, so are they. That's what they're thinking. Of course we can look at it because we're looking at their situation, not our own, and see the nonsense in that way of thinking. But in terms of our own nonsense ways, we can't see them. Yeah? And sometimes when our friends point them out to us with a wish to help us see our own nonsense, we get offended and angry. Yeah? When somebody's just trying to help us. Okay? So, I think we have to, in samsara, we have to kind of readjust our expectations a little bit, as to what we expect of sentient beings. This doesn't mean that we see them as any less kind than they are. They're always kind. They may make stupid decisions, they may be on the moon, but they're still kind. Because we can't stay alive without other sentient beings. So the bottom line is we need them. We need each other. And we've come through for each other, because if we hadn't had come through, we wouldn't be alive now. Okay? So, everything in our lives depends on other living beings. That's a fact, isn't it? Yeah. Any of you grow the food that you ate for breakfast this morning? Did any of us make the fabric that our clothes are made out of? Did we grow the cotton? Did we make the plastic or the nylon or whatever, or polyester? Yeah. No. Yeah. Many people are using glasses. Did you make your own glasses? Yeah. When we look, like everything we have came from the efforts of other sentient beings. And we have to see them kind for that reason. Yeah. Their motivation for doing what they did doesn't matter, because you could say, well, they just did that to earn a living. That's okay. But the bottom line is I benefited from what they did. Yeah? And if they didn't put up the electric poles and make the electricity keep running, we would be in a very sorry condition. Yeah? If they didn't make the septic systems, we would be up the creek. Literally. Yeah. So we have to see the kindness of others and keep that in our mind and be constantly aware of that, And when we can see their kindness and see how they're afflicted by the afflictions and how much they suffer due to their afflictions, then we can really have compassion for them. Yeah. Because here are these kind mother sentient beings, yeah, who have done so much for us in previous lives, present life, and will continue to do so in future lives. And look how confused they are. And they're so confused they don't even realize how confused they are. Just like we were before we met the Dharma. And most of the time, even after we've met the Dharma, we don't realize how confused we are. Yeah? So we have to, see sentient beings in that kind of light and have some compassion for them. If we train our mind like that, it's a very good antidote for the critical, judgmental mind that likes to pick faults at everyone and everything. And as we all know, who has a critical, judgmental mind here, by the way? Anybody? Yeah. When our critical, judgmental mind gets running, who suffers from it? We do, don't we? Yeah? We're sitting there thinking all these negative thoughts about other people. We have a court in our own mind. Yeah, we're the prosecutor. There's no defense attorney because they don't deserve any defense. There's a prosecutor, there's a judge, there's a jury, and they all agree with us. And we convict them of not doing what we want, which is the greatest sin in the universe, and then we incarcerate them in the concept of, you're useless, I hate you. Okay, and who suffers then? They're not even here. Yeah, who suffers? We do, Because we all want to be connected to sentient beings, but when our judgmental, critical mind gets going, we start throwing everybody out of the window. And pretty soon, who's the only one left who happens to be perfect? Me! Okay? And then we're lonely, and we're disaffected, and we wonder, what happened? Yeah? Why don't people like us? Because we threw them out the window. They aren't even around to try and like us. Okay? So we really have to, to watch this. And when we can hold them in compassion, despite all their foolishness and nonsense, yeah, then our mind has some real inner strength. Yeah? So holding them in compassion doesn't mean we look at them and, they're doing some stupid thing, like what the NRA is doing. I read this article just this morning, I think, about the NRA and how their policies actually aid criminals. It's a very interesting article. Anyway, they may be doing total stupidagios, yeah, that make no sense. But we have to have compassion for them, don't we? Yeah. Because they aren't always who they are right now. And they were once little adorable babies. Yeah. Wayne, what's his name? Wayne Pierre? Wayne Napier? The president of the NRA. Napier. Wayne Pierre. Yeah, well, him. Wayne, well, we know. Okay, Wayne and George W. They were once adorable little babies. So is Rick Perry and Ted Cruz, adorable babies once. Yeah? Yeah? Yeah, Donald Trump, some kind of really cute baby that if we saw, we would look and go, wow, what an adorable baby. He has a whole future in front of him. May he grow up to be a wonderful, a wonderful person who benefits so many people. And they all think they grew up to become like that. Yeah? But, we have to have compassion for them because they don't see. But of course, we're right, But, so compassion doesn't mean we go, oh, kuchi ku, poor baby, you're so ignorant. You have to stand up and speak clearly, and behave like an adult with these people. But we still have to have compassion because, the mind's overwhelmed by afflictions. Mm-hmm.
Aren't we really doing that though? They don't know how we're feeling inside. So when we get angry and upset at all those things, really we're hurting ourselves.
Definitely.
The exercise of compassion, what we're really doing is we're helping ourselves first. And then
Yep.
from that space, then we don't pass judgment.
Yep. Yeah, because our compassion prevents us from getting angry. If we get angry, anger destroys our merit. Yeah, all the merit we work so hard to create, anger just burns it. Yeah, so protecting our mind with compassion is, we're the chief beneficiary. His Holiness talks about this a lot. He says it's not the person that you have compassion for that benefits from it, but it's you yourself, because then you have a peaceful mind. Because he talks about himself and he says, I try and help somebody, but I don't know if that person's going to accept my help. Yeah, they may reject it. They may call me names. Yeah, but if I have the compassion that wants to help, my mind is peaceful, no matter whether they accept the help or don't accept it. Yeah, so he says, I'm the chief beneficiary of my compassion, because it feels good to be compassionate, and it feels lousy to be angry. Yeah. Yeah, because we feel lousy when we're angry, don't we? Yeah, I mean, we feel real, don't you? Don't you feel lousy? Yeah, of course there's a lot of adrenaline and we feel self-righteous, but we feel miserable inside. Because if we didn't feel miserable, if we felt happy, why would we be angry? Yeah, happy people, when somebody's happy, they're not angry. Yeah.
I have a fairly easy time remembering this when it's other people that are doing something I don't want to do, them to do. But I seem to never remember this when it's an inanimate object or a situation that's frustrating me.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow I have in my mind, that I think because this idea of you burn merit, you get angry at someone who could be a bodhisattva,
Mm-hmm.
So that gives me a real disincentive for getting angry at somebody. But if it's like a computer,
Yeah, yeah.
somehow I feel like I have permission, or I give myself
Permission to get angry at the computer. Yeah.
I try not to yell at Bill Gates.
Yeah, okay. So you don't take it out on Bill Gates. Yeah. Okay, you don't. Yeah.
Sometimes because he's not there, I use his name in vain.
Okay, so you do get angry at him.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Because even, when the computers don't work, there's sentient beings behind it. Yeah.
Oh, Apple.
Oh, Apple doesn't work either. But we can, yeah. I think it's this thing of giving yourself permission to get angry, kind of like, well, because even if the person isn't there, sometimes we give ourselves permission to fume about them and swear about them, but we're still angry at them, whether they're there or not. Yeah. So the thing, I think, is to really come back and to say, who benefits from my being angry? Yeah? I'm giving myself permission to be angry at the computer, but who's going to benefit from that? Especially if I get so angry that I throw the computer across the room. Then I'm going to make problems harder for myself. Yeah, and then we're one of those people who are overwhelmed by afflictions who aren't thinking clearly, aren't we? Yeah? We're one of those very same people at that moment.
It actually feels like for me, frustration is the biggest form of anger that I experience. And it actually does feel like when I sort of blow up in frustration, that there's a release of tension. That I get it out of my system, and then I'm usually able to laugh, like very quickly. It dissolves into sort of laughter. So it feels, when you say it, does it feel good or not to be angry? It feels awful to be angry. I think that's really definitely true when there's a person on the other side.
So you're sticking up for the value of releasing frustration because you feel better because of it.
Yeah, because frustration.
He's a lawyer. Isn't he a lawyer?
I'm not a lawyer. We announced that. Don't call me names. It feels awful to be frustrated. It would be nice to be able to not let it get to that point.
Yeah, it sure would, wouldn't it?
The other problem, I would say, is that if you develop that of, I'm just going to blow up and release, that's a habit.
Yeah.
And then you keep doing that. And then pretty soon, it's going to expand and increase, and then pretty soon it's people you're going to be doing it to. So
Yeah.
I think that's a bad
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, that's the difficulty with, what people used to say, go in the middle of a meadow and scream. Well, what happens if there's no meadow around? You scream in your house at who's ever there. So, yeah.
It seems
Yeah.
to me the key is what you started with, though. That, in all this situation, I'm really seeing that having that expectation that samsara is going to do anything but be the nature of dukkha is that is the worst of ignorance. It's so stupid.
Yeah, thinking that computers are always going to work.
Computers or people or property rights or whatever. But that's what we get mad at over and over and over.
Yeah. Yeah. But who's responsible for us being in samsara? We are. We created the cause. We're responsible. Nobody else put us in samsara. Yeah? So when we have problems in samsara, what in the world are we complaining about? Yeah? Yeah. Because we got ourselves here. Nobody else did. Just as Shanti Deva said, I think I brought it up a few days ago, nobody else can send us to the lower realms. Somebody can say, go to hell all they want. They can't send us to the lower realms. We send ourselves to the lower realms through our vicious actions. Yeah? So we're sometimes our, what do they say, worst enemy? Yeah? So this is why it's so important to learn the Dharma and to practice it. Yeah? So that we can start really benefiting ourselves and benefiting others as well. Okay. Yeah?
If I meet with a situation that upsets me or ignites some emotions in me, situations or people, is it a better way to just walk away first until the emotions are more calm and then decide whether
Yeah. I think in situations it's always better to calm ourselves first before acting, because when we're not calm we can't think clearly, and then we often say and do things that, enhance the difficulty. So if there's the opportunity to just step aside, calm down for a little bit, and then go back to the situation and with a clearer mind, I think that's usually helpful.
Because I know that I can be absolutely 100% faithful that what is presented is what's going to happen.
Mm.
I have a lot of faith in that.
Mm.
That's the bottom line.
Okay. Oh,
I
that's
agree with
nice.
you. I don't think people are generally unreliable out in the world, but
Mhm.
not here they're not.
Mm. Thank you. That's a big thing for us to live up to. So when we fall flat on our faces.
I've been for 10 years. There's never been a false word spoken, and every time people are expected to do whatever they're supposed to do, it's done. And if someone's sick, then other people step up and help out. So that's why I keep coming.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's what we try and do. I mean, that's part of our practice. Yeah. Because if we don't practice that, what are we practicing? Yeah. Okay. So, the value of lowering expectations, seeing kindness, yeah, and remembering others' suffering. Yeah. So, we've been doing this text, praising bodhicitta, and two of the big elements that we have to master to generate the compassion that is the cause of bodhicitta, yeah, are seeing others' dukkha, their unsatisfactory conditions, and seeing their kindness. Yeah, so we have the two ways of generating bodhicitta, but it all boils down to, being aware of dukkha and being aware of kindness. And to be aware of others' dukkha, unsatisfactory conditions, we have to be aware of our own. And if we can't see our own, yeah, then it's going to be difficult. If we can't see our own and want ourselves to be free of them, can't see our own afflictions and how they trap us and want ourselves to be free of them, then how can we see others' afflictions, how they suffer because of them, and want them to be free? Yeah, we have to be able to see our own first. Yeah, so that's why the first two of the four truths are really important. Yeah. Because this attitude that wants ourselves to be free and wants ourselves to attain liberation, you can also call that having compassion for ourselves. Because it's wanting ourselves to be out of samsara. And isn't that the best kind of compassion to have for ourselves, is a mind that wants us to be out of samsara? Yeah, that's the greatest compassion to have for ourselves. Nowadays, having compassion for yourself is, it's like the big thing. Yeah. But what does compassion for yourself mean? What does loving yourself mean? Some people think it means I go out to the shopping center and buy what I want, even though I can't afford it, because that'll give me some temporary pleasure. Yeah, kind sentient beings. Yeah, who grade the road that we ride on. Do we go out and thank them? Yeah, if we met the guy walking down the street, would we recognize him and say, "You're the guy who grades my road. Thank you so much, because if you didn't do that, my car would get all messed up." Yeah? So, this kind of kindness. So, what does it really mean to love ourselves and have compassion for ourselves? Now, it doesn't mean pampering ourselves and indulging our wishes and wants. I mean, the biggest type of compassion is to really sincerely wish ourselves to be free of cyclic existence. That's real compassion for ourselves. And since we can do something to actualize the object of that compassion, we can do something to get ourselves out of cyclic existence, then let's do that. Yeah? Just as when we have compassion for others and we want them to be free of their afflictions, we want to do something to help them. Well, we certainly have to do something to help ourselves, because it's much easier helping ourselves than helping them. And it's already hard enough helping ourselves, isn't it? Because sometimes we're totally recalcitrant. There's one side of ourself that says, do this, it's good for you, and another side that says, we flip ourselves the finger, leave me alone, a kind of, one part of us, just on simple things, don't eat the cheesecake, it's not healthy for you. Don't have so much sugar, it's not healthy for you. One part of us says to ourselves. The other part of ourselves says, I want it, give it to me. I deserve it. Yeah, I'll talk with you about stopping sugar and all that kind of junk later. But first, I want my pleasure. And this is on simple stuff. Yeah? I mean, just working with our own mind is already hard enough, isn't it? Yeah. And yet, we are all set to help others with their problems, aren't we? We know exactly what they need to do to change. And we're ready and willing to help them change, but we don't want to look at our own stuff. Mm-hmm. Okay? So, what is it? They say something starts at home. What is it? Change starts at... What? Regime change. Actually, it's true. We do need a change of regime inside of ourselves. Yeah? Charity starts at home? Okay. Yeah. What did you think it was?
No, I like the regime change.
Yeah. The regime change is really, yes. Yes. Yes, we definitely need an internal regime change. Yep. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's good. Maybe I should change the... Yeah.
The regime has weapons of mass distraction.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Take it out.
Yeah, we need to take it out. Okay. So, this is the work we have to do. Huh? And this is the most valuable work we can do. Because without changing ourselves, efforts to benefit others our efforts are going to be very handicapped. Yeah. But when we really get the depth of our own ignorance, it really becomes much easier to have compassion for others who don't see their ignorance. Because slowly, have you noticed as you practice the Dharma, kind of slowly, you begin to see more and more of your ignorance? Yeah, very slowly, because we don't like to admit it, and we so often can't see it. But as we can admit it and see it, and have some forgiveness for ourselves, then that enables us to have some fortitude and some forgiveness with others. Yeah, because we're all alike that way. Mm-hmm.
And what you're saying, I was thinking it's the immediacy of that pleasure versus the long-term right. You're not thinking long term. You're not thinking, what's going to happen when you do this. You just do it.
Exactly. Exactly. We become, attachment makes us, and anger too, we become very short-sighted. We want the immediate pleasure, the immediate fix. Yeah. And long-term consequences, even in this life, we don't think about them. Long-term consequences for future lives, even less.
Other thing is, like, people even use impermanence to support that. Like, I could die tomorrow.
Right, yeah. I could die tomorrow, so why am I working for long-term happiness? Let's just get my pleasure now. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah.
It's the one time that people recognize death and impermanence.
Yes. Uh-huh.
I noticed, like, I was walking in the forest yesterday, like, I started thinking about things.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden I was passing misjudgment and thinking this thought. And I was like, man, I'm thinking these things. I need to stop thinking these things. Because they were judgmental type of thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
even in a pristine environment. And it really, all of a sudden it really dawned on me how the dukkha,
Mm-hmm.
then the generation of compassion, with the aim of bodhicitta is so vital. And how they work as basic antidotes to. In other words, the compassion is the antidote to the judgmental mind.
Yeah.
And then it also really set my resolve to then circle back to the mind training, the 7-point mind training, which when you read that, has all these formulas, how you think differently.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, it's beautiful when you can start seeing that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. When things you've studied and you think you've understood, all of a sudden you go, oh, that's what it meant. Yeah. Oh, that was really profound. How come I didn't see that before? Yeah. Yeah. I was observing yesterday, similar kind of thing with judgment criticism, but it could go into anxiety. And just watching that when the mind is in a judgmental mood, it will judge anything. It's just looking for anything. And what it judges is really inconsequential because it just wants to judge. The same thing with the mind of anxiety. It's not that the situation makes us angry. It's like we have this anxiety energy and we're just looking for anything outside to latch onto. Because I can watch and see, oh, I can get anxious at this. And then I get tired of that. So then I move to this object and get anxious about that one. And get tired of that. Then get anxious at this one. Then get anxious at that. And then I start looking around. Well, I've covered my usual anxieties. What else is there that I can get anxious about? And you see quite clearly that it's all coming from the mind and just the habit to be anxious. Yeah, it's just a habit to be anxious. It takes any object, whatever is convenient. The situation doesn't even have to be anxiety-provoking. We will make it so. Yeah, in the same way that the situation doesn't even need to be a situation to get upset at, but when we have the anger energy, we will find something to get upset at that we're sure is out there, exists in the situation. But it's just, we're sending out, what? Like,
Healers.
yeah, feelers. Yeah, and we're just like, okay, oh, that one. I'll get angry. Yeah, tag, you're it. I'll get angry about you. Tag, you're it. I'll get anxious about you. Yeah. And it's just the habit of our mind that is uncontrolled, and that's why we need to work with it. Mm-hmm.
Why the mind need that anxiety? What is she protecting herself from?
Yeah, what I think the basic thing is, when we have anxiety, when we have anger, then the self-grasping feels like, now I exist. Now I exist. Yeah, because I can get anxious. Self-centeredness gets a big shot. Now I exist because I'm anxious, because the world is, I'm not getting my way. It gives these unrealistic, unbeneficial minds a boost, and then we really feel like I exist and I'm the most important one in the world. Yeah. And boy, those thoughts love feeling like that, And that's why, we have so much resistance to getting to the cushion, because the cushion starts dismantling those thoughts and questioning them. And we start looking at our habits and thinking, well, maybe it's time to grow beyond that habit. And, ego doesn't, these kind of, self-grasping ignorance and self-centered thought, they don't just roll over and say, yeah, sure, you're right. They're not going to go out without a fight. They're going to fight to the death. Yeah? And that's why, you see sometimes even Dharma people make the most ludicrous decisions. Yeah? Because the ego is just, the self-centeredness, self-grasping are just, I'm not going to give up. Mm-hmm. So let's dedicate to be able to eliminate our self-centeredness and self-grasping ignorance and the afflictions and all the karma in both ourselves and others.